share screen, I am inhibited. You can allow me for
Sir,
sharing
I
my
mean,
screen.
it is already there, sir, for you.
Oh, okay. It is there. Okay, fine. Uh, okay, fine. So today, what I am going to discuss with you, I think from the last 3 4 days, you are already listened to so many people in this region which are concerned about creating the green entrepreneurship and how to build these systems and how the MSMEs and all those people are involved into this. My concern today will be on the practical aspects. What I will be discussing, everything will be on the practical aspects. Uh, Let me first put my screen over there. This is giving me just a moment. Just a moment. Window. Just a second. Give me a second for that. No, it's okay. Now, hopefully, you can see my screen of today. Okay. Uh, yeah. When we talk about the green entrepreneurs, let me first tell you what this whole concept is. While sharing with you two of the episodes I came across about an year back. Those episodes are related to one of the international, what you call in a seminar or workshop, an event through United Nations Environment Program. We call it in a UNEP, being held in Delhi, a part of it. And there was an interaction going along with the great people who have got the knowledge hold into this green entrepreneurship, climate change, and whatnot. And as you are aware, there is a one fellow you must have heard about, Sonam Wangchuk. He was also there in that conference. And the hall was a huge hall in Delhi, Baba Sahib Ambedkar Hall, where he was addressing the dignitaries over there through a stage where he came. He was wearing a t-shirt and a pant, I can say like a half sleeve. And the environment within that, what you call the auditorium, was like that 90% people were wearing the coats and they were also shivering. So Wangchuk said, look here, today we are here to discuss about the climate change, the environment, and the challenges around it. And I was coming from a place where there is already in a temperature which allows me to wear the woolens. But I studied the temperature of Delhi and I wore a normal t-shirt, which is good for the summer. And then when I entered into this hall, even I am feeling that t-shirt is not good. Even the environment is good for my t-shirt, but the environment, intentionally given in that is touching anything around 70 degree or 80 degree. So why we people at this level can't think practically on those places where we really have to play with the environment and create this type of nonsenses where it is polluting the whole environment. So there was no need of putting the AC up to that level where you have got the requirement of wearing a woolen, and then when the outside environment and all those things are so normal. It was a big, you can say, a dialogue before the Augusta gathering, and then he was directly looking into that, the operationalizations of all those things where the practical applications are needed. And the second episode, it is not only in India. I was at Austin in Texas University in their innovation hub. So there were all secretaries. I mean, one of the very senior bureaucrat from Madhya Pradesh was also accompanying over there during that visit organized by the DIPP. There also the inside temperature was so deep that everybody was shivering. When I asked them that in Indian startup system ecosystem, where we are what you call the accelerating the innovation, I know the startups who have created those tools where they can monitor the outside temperature and control the inside temperature automatically. Can't we fit those things over here also? Or I know Texas is such a huge involved into the R&D, all those things, but why we have not put over there? So these type of challenges, which where we require a practical implementation, and the disruptive technologies, when you talk about that the challenges are there, then the word of startups, the entrepreneurs, where these type of things start coming, and that holds good for today's what you call interaction with you all, that how the incubation sport for green entrepreneurs and the startups are happening, and what basically these green entrepreneurs are, and then how the different ecosystems are helping. So my flow will be like putting, which is the slide I have placed before you, the green, giving the concept of this, then the startup mindset, then the opportunities to innovate, then the national and international thought on investment in sustainability, environment, and social development, and some live examples and how the institutions, and specifically I always take how this youth, the academia can work on it, and then the ecosystem, and then we have gotten a question answer session for. Now, when we talk about the entrepreneurs, and that too in the green, what you call the vertical, one of the founders of the director of Mahatma Gandhi Rural Institute, Varda, he said the green entrepreneurship is no longer a multi-billion-dollar industry, but it is a dharma. And we have to take it, the concept, it as a dharma also. It is a no escape, like we pray every day for the benefit of the whole society, for benefit of our families and everything. You have to come and then start following this path as a real dharma, and to do something into this field. And this concept came through the United Nations previous, I mean, the green entrepreneurship from the first mooted by the former Secretary General of UN. This concept was evolved around the corporate social responsibility, and then later it was also into built into the PSR, where we called it the professional social responsibility. Now, when I talk about the entrepreneurs, from my side, the entrepreneurs are those who see the opportunities where there are challenges, and then they are quick to mobilize when the action is needed. These two things are the, and then definitely there is some we people call, I mean, they are the people who play with the disruptive technologies to bring this change fast also. When there is a quick to mobilize, all those things are inbuilt. But the two things which I wanted to flag over there, which I also put into the red formation over there also, is the opportunities and the challenges. That's why the entrepreneurship comes. And then how I am going to relate this whole story with the green, with these challenges, and then how the startup started looking into it. And then another great thing which I came across from one of the book. So I wanted to share, whenever I look into the entrepreneurship mindset and the employee mindset, it is a very simple thought, but very deep to dive into. And both are equally important. If I am building a company as an entrepreneur, I may be needing employees also, and I also need those entrepreneurs which are very clear about these type of things. So the entrepreneurs, they are typically which contribute. They focus on the contribution, and then employees, they generally look into their entitlement. Like, I am a assistant manager, I am a manager, I am assistant professor, something of that sort. Focus on the outcome is the entrepreneur's built-in DNA, and the focus on the output, like whatever given to me from the top, I have to do that and just say, okay, this is the output. These people are the outcome-based people. So sought for what is needed, they always entrepreneurs look at what is needed. That's why they keep looking into the challenges. They keep looking into the opportunities where they can venture. And these are sought what is required. Like what my boss require, what my subordinate require, I have to do that, and that is my duty as an employee. So work yourself in entrepreneurship out of a job. But these employees, they keep protect your job. And the entrepreneurs, they go towards the big decisions without any authority. So this is the advantage of being an entrepreneurship. That's why we say they are the like fast adopters, and then they bring in a change in a fast manner also. But the employees, they always have a turn away from even the small decisions, and you have the authority to make it. So ultimately, what is they see the circumstances, the entrepreneurs, as an illusionary and temporary. All those challenges which they face and when they come across, this look into that. These are for temporary phase. There is some solution out of this, but they look into the circumstances as fixed and permanent. And why I have put it before you is that in this workshop, which I am interacting with you, we have to look into both these aspects very clearly while interacting, that really we have to build those ecosystems where startups get accelerated, where the ideas get accelerated, and we should have a bit of that mindset which to mentor these type of people. And then we should not get into any conflict while looking into these small things where they are taking their own decisions and the facilitations are built into that. And then the thoughts when they come across me, I mean, when we'll see, I mean, there is a lot of greenery and then there's a fading tree. It gives us really a deteriorating condition. And as a startup, as a mentor, it gives a signal in my mind, I mean, what is all this which is happening. And then also, when I come across these type of the risk, these type of news, and this is not that bad news, this that old news. This is from Times of India, where the natural, I always say the nature's feedback loops and other indicators are worrisome. When we complete this and we study this, how the temperature is rising in our environment, and as a startup, as an innovator, as a facilitator for all those minds, there always lies, I feel there is always lies an opportunity to address these type of challenges, these type, and we feel that there are opportunities to look into that. And how these are happening, in due course of time, I will tell you, I mean, how the people started working it around that. And then when I see the depletion of the water and how we are spoiling this water, and there is a water scarcity everybody is talking about, I always look not as a human being, but as an overall, as in a planet where the inhabitants, there are other living beings, I can say, are also have got this challenge. But I look into that we have a choice, but they don't. So we have to come out with some solutions to address all these small things, but which are affecting us in a big way. And this is I say it is today in the economic times. I placed it before you because there are different aspects. When we talk about India, we don't talk about only North India, the Middle India, or the South India. We talk about the hills. We talk about the forest deforestation of India. We talk about how our coastal areas have been held responsible for degrading this whole story. So this is in a sea of plastics, we say. And then how the 10 most widespread waste items polluting the world oceans. And I remember that during my tenure with the United Nations, we started in the vertical where we called the reboot. We did 2-3 hackathons internationally. One was the reboot the Earth, another was the reboot the oceans, and then those were through the young minds, through the students only. And one of the young startup from Delhi Engineering College was also selected during the reboot the Earth, and he has showcased his practices or whatever the solution at the international level at the UN Assembly also about 2 years back. So these are the things which build in my mind. Yes, there is a problem, there is a challenge, and as an innovative facilitator, as working in an innovation, what you call ecosystems, I say there is an opportunity to work on this. So these type of dialogues you must have heard, seen, and then debated that there is an increased rate of environmental degradation, air and water pollution, deforestation, natural disasters, and the climate change has been addressed by many at many platforms. And then sustainability climate crisis every year seems to be a landmark where the new records set for heat, drought, storms, melting of polar ice caps, deforestation. How many have you must have seen the Uttarakhand challenges? Uttarakhand, they are facing lot many challenges in deforestation, the fire, the forest fires, and the government is putting lot of money into it. And I know a couple of startups working on that how to avoid this and how to set their innovations over there, that these fires, the deforestations can be looked into in an advanced manner, that if something is happening you can check it in advance also. So more species and habitat lost during this degradation. So probably more in action and underwhelming action, the world's biggest economies and polluters. So these are some of the what not only say in India, outside also India, throughout this planet, these challenges have been faced. Now, how this momenta, when we say, I mean, you must have seen there are very few people who are working on these type of challenges. But when we start looking into an aspect as a mentor, we start aligning their innovations with some of the good formations where there is an investment, where there is an acceleration, where there are the policies. So they always, the startup always feel there's a momentum and the optimism. So the continued uptake of the renewable energy, you must have seen a lot many initiatives taken by Government of India. And then there is a circular economy. Many things are coming around this revolution in food production and the carbon removal. So technologies and policies that support these things all could provide much needed momentum to all these aspects which we are now deliberating, and then how to bring it before our students so that students start thinking on that. Now I will look into this within the next slide, where I say that the opportunities, green entrepreneurs and the startups. Now companies around the world are moving more quickly than ever for what? To reduce the business risks that come across because of the threats to the natural capital and the human well-being. There will be in future no business or no big houses which are not going to address these things. This I will show you how those companies started aligning their whole ecosystem with their production, with their services around these addressing these challenges also. So make the necessary shifts in how they use the resources more efficiently and create fewer waste streams. So reflect the potential of sustainable business to create value for society, balancing people, profits, and the planet. This is the most important thing. When we will sensitize our students about these three aspects, the people, the profit, and the planet, and then we look into that. You must have heard about so many things under sustainable development goals of the United Nations. All these things are aligned in that, and then how these are aligned I will try to discuss also. So some of the major shifts taking place, the transition of building energy from natural gas to the clean electricity, evolution of the ocean going vessels to operate more efficiently. You must have heard about how the major heavy transportation to diesel is happening through our sea transport. and how to reduce that whole what you call the pollution is being created, and the what you call the fuel they are using over there and spoiling those areas also. So how companies are turning to nature-based solutions to mitigate climate and other risks. So shift of protein sources from animals to plants. And this is something very interesting. You being, I mean, most of you must have heard about the AI and the bots. Now, through the corporate sustainability reports of big companies, they started addressing the AI bots into the corporate sustainability. That how through this they are reducing the carbon footage and reducing the how they are reducing their intervention into spoiling the environment. There's something very interesting coming out, and you have to read in detail about all these corporate sustainability of the big companies who are creating these type of white papers also, and working on the technologies, how they are helping in the sustainability. And then when I call the planet, the people, the profitability, there's the one thing which always came in our mind. Those are the sustainability development goals. When we put it like this is a star which is becoming the circle, becoming very popular among at the international level. And if you talk about India, India is becoming a major player in addressing the SDGs because of the major population and the challenges involved into this. And this is not what I say an initiative by UN. Is the initiative by all the member countries, that how they can come together and can work together, and they can define some what you call the goals and the parameters under them, and then how these goals can again be aligned with the challenges at any level. You talk about the health, you talk about the education, you talk about the industry, everything is inbuilt into this. And this is how the awareness around this can be created. And the major thrust now UN is coming, that to bring the youth, the academia, who can work around it. So recently, even you will find that very soon there are innovation labs, there are accelerator labs. They will be conducting some competitions where the students will be put forward, and they will be asked to, they will be made as a partner into these addressing these challenges, and putting their mind that how they can bring in a positive change in this world. And why this is happening, why they want that students should be a part of this, the youth should be a part of this. You must have seen during this whole last 1.5 year during this pandemic, the major challenge was the data. And when everybody started that data is the next oil in this world, they are quite right. And then the authenticity of data, the clarity on that data, the clarity on that information, and the right information to travel, so that the people sitting at the top, they can take a right decision, I always say, at the speed of light. Because nobody at this moment is waiting and putting the files as in a typical Sarkari style. They have to take a call to save this universe, to save this planet from these type of challenges. So students, the academia is becoming a major participant into that. They started showing it that how these models have been worked, and the students were asked at the regional level, at the local level, to collect those data around those challenges also, and then help them with the knowledge internationally they were having to create the solutions at the fast rate. So whenever you talk about this of the climate, the green entrepreneurships, look into that. That those under those verticals, how fast your institutions, how fast your students can start building their ecosystems along them, and they start participating into them. You have to create an awareness around them. And then when you talk about the what you call the socio-economic impacts, or the desertification and the climate change, this is some of the reports where they start aligning the different SDGs along with them, and then the magnitude and the what you call how these are affecting into that. So there's a lot of things are working on that, but our students, I know, unfortunately, not much aware of them. And then when you talk about, this is again a slang which is given by the 1.5 degree by the United Nations at different levels. Look into how half a degree of warming makes a big difference. And they are explaining it that even a small change of zero point 0.5 degree, 1.5 degree to 2 degree, extreme heat, global population exposed to severe heat and the least once every 5 years, how this is time to be this by 2.6 times the worsen. And the sea ice free arctic number of the ice free summers, that at least 1 year in 100, then this will be 1 year, one every 10 years, that means it's 10 times worse. So sea levels, their amount of sea level rise by 2100 will be 0.40 if it is a 1.5% increase, and there is again, if it is slightly 0.5, this will be this percent more. And then how the species lost, the vegetables, the planets and the insects, how they are, and these are the inhabitants of this universe which has to be saved for the overall growth. You must have seen during this pandemic, you started saying the environment is becoming now good, and why that is becoming good, you everybody know about that. Lot many publication has been sent around it. Now on a big, I always like when working with the startups, mentoring with them, I always ask them, whatever the innovations you are looking, look into in a big way that what company is going to adopt it, what big business houses is going to help you, what are the big business houses going to invest into them, and how the investor, the venture capitalists are looking into the overall business. The traditional business logic was, whatever you are doing, maybe on the environment, social or governance, the economic value creation, all this was there, but these all towards leading to the profit of your shareholders. This everybody knows about that. But when you look into the ecopreneurial business logic, they are not looking just for the profit of one thing. They are developing the social value creation. They are ecological value creation is there. The economic value creation is there. So ecologic and the economic and the social value creation, ultimately this is the purpose when you say to bring this planet to a next level and to save this planet. So another good thing which I wanted to introduce over here is why this logic. I will support it in the coming few slices. This is a new concept where the ESG factors are coming forward. And just see into this statement that the ESG oriented investments, the investing has experienced a meteoric rise global sustainable investment about $30 trillion. And this is not a small amount. And when we talk about the ESG, the top level is on the environmental. The companies who are taking care of the waste, the pollution, the resource depletion, greenhouse gas emission, deforestation, and climate change, they are, if they are seriously putting it and their companies are helping these verticals, the investors are there to invest into them. And when they are getting an investment, these companies indirectly, those investments, though these challenges to be addressed by the youth, by the startups, by the young entrepreneurs, by the MSMEs, who are in one way or the other way are linked with the big companies there, as you must have seen about that. And then definitely some social factors and some governance factors. But I am, because in this interaction, I am more concerned about the green entrepreneur. So I'll be like working on these two factors on the social and the environmental side, which directly or indirectly are the factors, the opportunities where these green entrepreneurs have to look into. Now, this was another recent thing. I advise that all of you put in a Google search and look into this report, the SDG Investment Map India. This is not an older one. This is recently it has been debated during this pandemic only. Here, the UNDP and the Invest India have launched a Sustainable Development Goals Investor Map for India, laying 18 investment opportunity areas. We call it an IOAs, in 6 critical SDG enabling sectors that can help India push the needle forward on sustainable development. This report identifies 6 priority sectors for inclusion, which include the education, healthcare, food and beverage, renewable resources, and alternative energy. Now, look into that, how these factors, and parallel to that, I think this year, in about 2 weeks back, SDG index for different states have been also measured. They have placed. I mean, it's in a big. If you will put in a search the SDG index India 2020, there is in a live dashboard. You can align your innovations, your thoughts under those challenges which those states or around your areas are facing. Look into the Madhya Pradesh. Look into those institutions which are linked with the Nitar Bhopal, and all those start working around that. The target is what type of ecosystem should be created through the youth within the institutions. And the green entrepreneurship is one among them, where there is a lot of concerns government is facing, the world is facing, and the industry is also facing, and they are looking for those people who can come forward for partnerships into that. And there's a lot of investments are also coming from outside India into that. And that's why I'm saying the same challenge which is at the coastal area, maybe in Odisha, may not be in the Madhya Pradesh, and what the Madhya Pradesh is facing may not be in the Himachal. So what these indexes have given us, they have given us the indicators according to which each institution located near to that challenge can start addressing those challenges and start working with the states and working with the local governments, local departments, and start providing them the inputs. These are all opportunities. One has to encash them at the fast rate. And then when you look into one of this SDG mapping, there's a renewable resource. What they say into that? They say as on April 30, 2020, the installed renewable resource and alternative energy capacity stood at 87.26 gigawatt. The investment activity 2020, the energy sector had received USD 1.8 billion across 8 PE investments, 7 of which were in renewable resource and alternative. Look at into the opportunity, and I was just trying to encash that. And then when I started working with some of the institutions, they were not much aware of that. Then how I started building this, when I say that I am building this ecosystem at tier 2 and tier 3 cities, I placed sensitized the students around this, and then sensitize their departments to their mentors that how the innovations can be worked on them. Now, many people have deliberated on this, but how to practically use it. Now, let me also share with you at this moment a practical model which my team started building around this with some institution. So what happened when I went to the rural area, and then when I found the most of the institutions also are around away from what you call the cities. Every rural area has a challenge into the power. And power for what? Power around 3 things. Power to fetch the water, to distribute the water, and power to run their shows, as in they're running their any work as in a power source in the houses, in the factories, something of that sort. And then power after the post harvesting also. And you must have seen most of the people are working with the diesels, with those motors, with those electrical gadgets, which are such a huge power consumption over there, the polluting things, and nobody is there to guide them that how they can reduce. So when I started intervening, nobody was ready, because you know that at the rural area there is always a different type of leadership is there. There is always some chaudhary, there is always some local what you call the MLA or local boss who governs the area. It's very difficult to work with them because they have got their own egos to work. So how to create a practical model over there? I went to the Sarpanch, I went to some of the education institutions, I went to the PHC, I went to the CSCs, and then started studying that how these people can, how these this whole people, the whole the what you call the infrastructure will are underutilized can come together. And while doing that, I came across a couple of news these days. You must have heard about that people are building their what you call uh, uh, the strengths during this pandemic with the desi dawaiyan or desi tonics and whatever they produce from the rural area also. And they are becoming quite effective. And then started looking. Somebody was saying that there are some gaushalas around that, and then there's a Panch Gawa program going over there. There's a lot of milk over there. There's a lot of they are innovating on so many things which are coming out of cow, and then cow, how the cow is effective. I said it's all good. I mean, like there's a lot of research needed on that, but there are some sentiments attached to that. So all those leaders, in one way or the other way, are attached to those places or the religious places in that small village. So I said, okay, let us now build a model around it. So I motivated the Gaushala people, where there was some activity is happening. Activity means because there are cows, there's the lively things are there. Somebody is donating the money. Some persons are coming and working for them. Some are putting the some what you call the chara or the foods to them, and some are milking the milk, and some are doing. So that means there is a happening place over there. Okay, I said, okay, you provide me this Gaushala. I will put some non-renewable energy type of thing over there that may come from the solar, they may come from something on the electrical part, they may come from the wind energy, and I may try to use your bio as a fuel for running your old stories, all your motors over there. So they agreed to that, because what I found, their electricity bills, their challenges are humongous over there, and the donations are not making them sustainable at that place. So once I put this model before them, a first level of interaction, the partnership started happening. Then I said, okay, let us build around them some rural hubs. Rural hub means a small portion of your this Gaushala, this religious places may be utilized for bringing the local people to create their livelihood around the local resources by utilizing the local resources. And one or two experiments we did, and then they happened in such a way that people started earning couple of rupees per day around that, and they started feeling confident about that. Now the next layer I said is, let the local institutions, because you must have seen that somewhere everybody in any village or any place is linked to the education institution. Let it be schools, let it be private schools, the secondary schools, or the institution around them. And they pay respect to the education in one way. And then I asked them, okay, let the mentors from the teachers from those, they start sensitizing, start working on this project along with students, and then those students in the school should be start getting sensitized to these type of small things, and small projects should be built. And this happened in such a way that I am feeling proud of that at this moment we have got almost 7 to 8 projects in our hand, and one of the institution which actively participated into this, I always say the actively through their leadership, has won the as an laurels while designated to create an idea lab from the AICT only 3 days back also. So this is basically to create the practical models. The idea labs which AICT has launched, out of the 49, that was the only one institution in this northern, I can say 4 to 5 states, which has been chosen for that. And this is not a small thing. There is an all over India level computation. There are more than 200 institutions who applied over there, and coming one among them, because of some practical things are happening over there, is how the things have been aligned and how the mentoring has been done. So that's why I'm saying there is a scope over there. There is a scope to address the environment. There is a scope to how to do these things. And when you start looking and how you are aligning this, you can say on the right side of this, and is directly impacted. What I did is I started putting these SDG blocks over there, whatever the things we are doing over there. The now the UN one or two verticals will very soon be aligned with that. So that is what is required. The Niti Aayog started looking into that institution very seriously. And these are the inbuilt things. And once these things are built, people are there to accept it. So how these when I say these SDGs and all those things, this is a very living example from one of the literature in that which has been published in the SDG mapping. They said in COVID-19, what were the major effects? The first order effect was access to the inequality of the healthcare, availability of the medical equipment, lower income, unemployment, labor mitigation. So migrations. So all these things, the SDG 3, 8, 9 were aligned into that. And the second order effects was the children pushed out of schools, individual pushed below the poverty line. Related to this, the SDG 4 or the matrices are the three central themes of measuring the sustainability and positive impact and investment of the business. While these criteria help to better determine the future performance of the companies, a true and accurate assessment has been difficult to assess in the private market. People started looking into those players who can understand this. There is a when we say that if I can't be an entrepreneur, I can work with an entrepreneur who understands the ESGs, and there are a lot many jobs also available where the companies are looking into that how these factors can be addressed through the people who understand this concept. Now, let me tell you how the Indian companies are adopting this, and all these companies are also started helping the startups in investing into them, in working along with them. So, visible rise in demand from asset managers to invest in companies with the high ESG factors or the scores. And then this is a data not later. This is into the March 2020 data where they have even put the Indian company. Some Indian companies have brought it in the ESG related strategies. Take the example of Dalmia Cement has committed to a carbon negative roadmap. Mahindra and Mahindra has an over 600 million green product portfolios across its business, from electrical mobility to green buildings to waste to energy initiatives. Now look into that, how your people can bring the disruptive thought, disruptive knowledge, disruptive innovations into these factors: the electrical mobility, the green buildings, the waste energy initiative. And JSW, one of the leading player in the steel, they has built a pipe conveyor belt to transport 36 metric ton of the iron ore every year in a bid to cut the pollution from the truck transportation. So there are opportunities into this green entrepreneurship. The companies, I have given you a small example of a big company names who started working. I know Mahindra and Mahindra had invested a lot of money in the startups also. You must have seen their tweets of their leaderships, that how they are doing it. GSW, all these things are these people only, the young people have given them these ideas. So the main drives of the green entrepreneurship, let me put into these colorful boxes. There's in a global warming, everybody knows about. There's in a pollution, everybody has understood this till now. Scarcity of the natural resources, saving critical natural resources, suitable enterprise creation also, creating better world for future generations. Everybody is thinking now, भाई मैं बच्चों के लिए कुछ अच्छा दुनिया छोड़ के जाऊं. The young people started now looking into in a very serious mode. When the Greta said, I mean, you have spoiled our whole world, then there is a thought behind it. It is the children who are looking into that. Though there is a voices from different country, but this voice is also from India. This voice is also from this the Asia Pacific also. Ozone layer depletion, climate change. disaster caused by disruption in the ecosystem, forest fires, glaciers melting. All these things are opportunities which the people can, the students can look into, and the mentors can work along with. Innovations are aligning. There are a lot many startups who started working on the waste management, collecting waste in an exchange of cash. You must have seen that how different innovations, when you put your waste somewhere, they give you some coin which can be exchanged for any cash. So making solar energy accessible to everybody, this is something which creating an awareness and creating the best possible tools and equipment depending upon the areas also. It is not that every solution is applicable to all the areas in India. Lot many things have to work on that. Recycling plastics also, tree plantation drives, e-commerce for products made out of the waste, recycling waste flowers. I mentored 3 or 4 startups which collected the flowers as in a waste from temples in Delhi itself, and now they are roaring business in the essence sticks in, and they have created lot many things out of that. And that fellow has been recognized at different levels. Is in a business opportunity he created out of this and earning out of it. Fertilizers from organic ingredients to save and increase the soil health is in again a big field coming out of that, where our fertilizers, our chemicals are spoiling our earth, spoiling our soil, and then people started looking how to make organic ingredients into our fertilizers, though their results are slightly slow, but their produce increases n number of times. This has been a proven fact. And then I know one of the startup who worked into this, and then who has seen that his things have he has been incubated in one of the agriculture based incubator in Jammu, and then have fast accelerated by a couple of places. And I mentored him. I am fortunate to mentor him at different places. Now, scope of startups, inclusion of consumer and customer. Now there is an when you talk about you must have seen there are different occasions when you talk about how to build an idea, and that idea should be adoptable by whom, to the maximum people. My consumer should be there, the customer should be there. So only then you can say that this POC can be scaled and the investors can come into that. So I put it in that way into these 4 or 5 things which will motivate you and your students into this ecosystem today. That yes, there is a scope to work into that. Now, growing awareness, environment knowledge, consumers are becoming more receptive towards the eco-friendly green products. Inclination of the consumer leads towards the development of the green market. There's a new thing which is coming up. The green market is an emerging market which fetches ample chances in every field, such as a green design, etc., etc. The inclination of the customers' buying behavior towards the eco-friendly product to service creates a space for the green entrepreneur, green supply chain, green production, and many more. So green entrepreneurs consciously address an environmental or a social problem, oblique or need, through the understanding of the entrepreneur ideas. Now look into one small fact. If tomorrow, you must have heard about the credit rating, that if I have to go to a bank to take a loan, they look into our credit ratings also. That how strong I am, how strong is my score in that particular vertical where I have bought or I have behaved in the credit ecosystem. I am sure very soon every person is going to have a green card in his pocket, a green number in his pocket, like an Aadhaar card. People will be looking towards those generations which can be spotted at different levels when they carry that how much carbon footing they have created, how much sport they have looked into the supply chains where there's less pollution they have created, and how fast or how in the quantum wise, they have contributed practically into this whole green ecosystem and green products also. I'm very much optimistic about that. And on a lighter note, one of the conferences on a virtual mode when it started in March, when the pandemic started and there was a lockdown, one of my mentored startup, he was creating a virtual platform like Zoom, because there was at that moment only very few platforms were there. So I asked him, he put in a demonstration virtually also, and he wanted the suggestions into them. Like, look here, man, and you also, all people, I'm addressing to you also. In today's conference, if I have to do it at a knitter Bhopal, all of you have to practically travel while traveling through bus, the train, by air to a place where this event has to be held, or any conference or any exhibition or any event has to be held. Look here into what and what type of, what number, what quanta of the pollution you have contributed, or that exhibition has contributed, and what the how much they have depleted into the ozone, all those pollutions. And then if you can save it very comfortably while attending this to the virtually, that means you are contributing to the environment. So I asked that fellow, can't you put a flag into that, the way we are providing the certificates to the participants? Can you give a what you call a token that this fellow, while saving this much of pollution while attending virtually, he has given this much of number or this much of a token, and get attached to this virtual field to some of the international organization which will support you. And they look here into the excitement into that startup. When we placed it at an international platform, there were the investors to invest into that. When they said, oh, this is a great idea where every person is getting a token, and totally, when you place into market your platform as in a virtual meetings and virtual conferences, you say through this one virtual conference, this platform has saved the environment up to this level. So this is the way to align your thoughts and sensitize your environment around you, and can start building an ecosystem which will help not only to you, to the people around you, to the society around you. So these are some examples we'll say. So developing and developed countries window. This is again a big question. It must be hanging around in your mind also at this moment when I talking about big numbers and big things about the whole story. So there is a crucial variation between the way of looking at the green entrepreneur in developed countries and the developing countries. Developed countries and the international organizations, you take about the UN, CTAD, OECD, UNIDO, W2FO, they incline to put maximum prominence on the market opportunities and on the term green, because they have already achieved a level of that. But the developing countries tend to emphasize on the market needs. It is not the now this is a need, and then on the term of entrepreneurship. So that's why you must have seen the Mahindra and all those things. If you start following their leadership tweets also, you will see lot many things are happening around this. They have started working around the entrepreneurs and investing into that, or putting their money into that as an equities, where this green entrepreneurship is developing. So another example which I am putting before you, the big players, the e-commerce field has seen a tremendous increase during this pandemic. So all these e-commerce people, they started looking on the carbon emission rise also. You must have seen the big trucks, the small trucks, the medium trucks, they are all fetching the things from the warehouses, not only from warehouses to their big warehouses to the small warehouses, and then to the last mile connectivity also, where they have to deliver to them. Every place it was connected either with the petrol or the diesel, and they were very serious about this, because these are the companies which have been watched by big investors, where they are putting the money and their commitment towards the environment also. So what they did is, now they it was very clear that they are polluting the air through what, to the all the delivery trucks and all those things. The freight movement is not only the fastest growing source of the greenhouse gas emission. This is last mile freight is major contributor to the local air pollution, often is a disadvantage. This I can see when every next 10 minutes a person comes on a vehicle and delivers something to one house or the other house in our colonies also. The e-commerce is becoming so popular. So the good news is the last mile package delivery in cities is a ripe for a clean and electrical transformation. You must have seen lot many electrical vehicles have been introduced into this last mile, and the local players started building. Two or three startups in Gurgaon itself started building this ecosystem, started working around this, and they have earned a lot of investment, earned a lot of name into this. So another good thing why I'm sharing all these things, there is a possibility which I feel you may or may not be knowing about this, but these are the some competitions on this green entrepreneurship where your students can align, and not only students, the deep technology from the teachers, from the mentors who understand this field can work into it. There is a one big thing is going which we call as an FLCTD competition, is a facility for low carbon technology deployment. This is in collaboration with the Global Environment Facility and also with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency and United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Because all these challenges, one way or the other way, are linked with the industries and how to control this environment in a right way through different levels. You will just find out how this the low carbon technologies have been accelerated. And Startup India and Agni from Prime Minister's office and the Startup India from the Ministry of Finance and Industry, both are active participant into this. And then what they are doing is they are putting, let me take this also. FLC innovation challenges on low carbon technology. They are working on the industrial IoTs, industrial resource efficiencies, electrical energy storages. I will explain a bit of it up to some level, or one or two cases I will take slightly as elaborated, where you will find, yes, your teachers, your people can work into them and can contribute into, and this is not a small amount, is almost in a winner has to be paid like $50,000, and a recognition and the attachment with the company to work with big companies, not only locally but at the international level also. So they have got the water heat recovery, space conditioning, HVAC and cold storages, pumps and pumping system. This up to this level, the competition is finished. But keep a watch on this. They keep advertising on FLCTD website also. So when you talk about the waste heat recovery technology innovations, these address to improve the overall energy efficiency in industries and commercial operations for the following areas. High temperature, different ranges of high, medium and low temperature ranges have been taken, where the heat which is coming out, how you can utilize or how you can reduce that heat at different levels. So this waste heat recovery technology are working around that also. The emerging and novel technologies applications that reduce energy consumption, including through the power generation systems, the system heat requirement reduction, reduction in substitution in the use of the fossil fuels. So design improvements that reduce energy consumption. It is not only like in innovation is not that you are into the R&D lab and you are inventing something new, but if you can improving the existing facilities as in a startup, it acts as an innovation for you to gain the momentum, gain the acceleration, and then earn money out of this. The overall application constraints and improve the economic feasibility. So heat recovery from updated, unutilized sources of heat also. How to utilize that? Then the space conditioning, another vertical, where that the space conditioning, refrigeration, cold chain, and identifying problems, innovation which can be deployed to address technology gaps and or reduce energy. The refrigeration, the cold chain. I discussed you within a model at the beginning that how practically we are working at the rural areas. See, they faced a big problem. The what you call them the farm to fork. We have got enough produce in India, but all of them is not utilized. There's a challenge into that. The reason being there are no cold chain, there is no cold storage, there is no refrigeration, and that refrigeration which can work in villages, which can work in those rural areas temporarily, and then parallel to that, add to value. If you are getting a different level of fruits or vegetables which are started perishing or which are not up to that mark that you can sell into the market, there are dry vegetables, dry fruits which are gotten a huge market nationally and internationally also. Then how those dryers, those solar dryers, those dryers which can keep the humidity under control can be looked into. So this is basically comes under the space conditioning and how those new innovations can help us to create that. Now look into this. This is one of the field which I myself have studied and found there are a lot of challenges. Pumping systems and motors, grid connected and or off grid applications across individual, commercial, residential, and agriculture sectors. So industrial and domestic pumps, innovations that save energy in pumps that find application in industries, buildings, municipalities, water supply, and sewage disposal. Send your students to study these three or four type of things. What type of motors, what type of pumps in agriculture, in your industries, or in municipal corporation the people are using. Find out the what you call the energy audits, the power audits over there. You will find that how much wastage is going into that, how much wastage in energy, the pollution, and all those things are going into this, and how this can be improved. And there are better solutions which can save our environment while working around that. You can take this experiment at any given time because I'm studying it in one of the Gaushala and one of the what you call a place around that where people are using pumps so heavily, and then they keep running without any control. Let me take you another practical example. Most of the in agriculture, you find there is a big challenge in electricity, and you don't know when the electricity power is given and what is the quality of that. And most of your power pumps are at the three phase, and whenever this sometimes a power comes and one person is dedicated that whenever there is an electricity you have to go and run that. And then if unfortunately there are not all the three phases coming or there's a fluctuation, then there is there's a probability of damaging those pumps also. The startups themselves have created what you call the IoT solutions around that. What they did is they first monitor the power. When it comes, automatically look into the quality of that, and then they switch on the pumps up to that time only while sensing the soil, what you call the wetness, that they should not unnecessarily put in a water over there. The water wastage can be controlled. And those places where the water is really needed, those sensors can turn those what you call the path of waters, and there should be in less water they can produce more things also. These are very small and practical solutions which people have dwelt, and they have saved lot of what you call power, the energy, the manpower also, and the produce have also started increasing. So these things can start happening. And then when you look into the industrial IoT innovations, most of you are heard about that, but how these challenges are coming forward, where you are looking at how the environment and all those things can be looked to identify promising innovative industrial IoT solutions, which can deploy in micro, small and medium manufacturing industries. Solutions should address technology gaps for real-time monitoring and mobile reporting of the parameters of equipment and process to reduce energy consumption, increase productivity. And such solutions, if you are in the expected the use case and the expected outcome, improve energy efficiency means track and reduce idle running of the equipment while not in use, which I even said, I mean, the pumps and all those things. This can happen in the industry also. Track efficiency of the equipment and specific energy consumption of the unit plant. Energy saving through the production of the optimization, optimize the production process, decrease the interruptions in production process, scheduling manual automation operations, improve productivity, analytics, track machine condition, reduce down, monitor KPI to track production, improving the productions, track anomalies of production processes, and all those things, and reduce waste of the raw material and the emission. Monitor input quality control, producing quality products, optimizing resource utilization, emission levels to meet government regulations, and then maintenance also. You must have seen that a lot of innovations are coming up, that how they can send you the signals of wear tears in gears and other things, and you don't have to unnecessarily put your mind. And then in the preventive maintenance, if something is very earlier, those signals can be transmitted, and lot of disruption in the production lines can be taken care in advance. So IoT innovations, these by the competition held by the UN verticals along with the Indian, through startups, through other innovators, it is happening, and it is in a live thing where your organization, your students can keep participating. Now, some startup examples into the fields. Uh, some startups started designing garments while only using the natural fibers. You must have seen ozone-free, environment friendly. They are using friendly dyes and clothes made from the natural materials like wood, coconut, etc. It also promotes khadi, and the team believe in promoting green living through eco-fashion also. On Ayurveda also, the startup say it is a product are natural, vegan, and organic in the nature. The laundry detergent is claimed to be 100% plant-based. Toys and the handicraft MDF class 1 and are printed using soya-based ink. Each of its products is tested for compliance on the international safety standards, and none of them run on the batteries or the chargers. So some bags have been produced, because you must have seen that in the ocean there is a plastic which is creating a major. So these biodegradable bags people started, and then the cautious people, the youth which is coming forward, the people who understand this whole concept, they make sure that those companies who are using these type of things, they only start purchasing from them. There's definitely a challenge, that there is some extra money involved into that, but there is a movement which started into that, and people started believing into that. Now, facts to consider at this moment: green entrepreneurs are indispensable for employment creation and the GDP growth. We understand this. SM is highly interlinked within the value chain, creating significant spillover effects. Green entrepreneurship can best be supported through intervention at various levels. This is in a need of the hour, using broad choice of instruments. That's why it has been proven. There is a research where they say that the youth can be the well targeted, since entry requirements are low and willingness to innovation is high. That's why I personally stress that working with the academia on these types of innovations, on the green and creating the facilities. When you talk about that incubation facilities, what is incubation? Incubation, when you to the term, I always say this is very dangerous. When there's a baby born in a hospital, and they lack something at that moment, and there is a danger to the life of that baby, they generally put it into an incubator. So these incubators, in fact, in education institutions, have to play the same role. We know our youth are at that place where they are having less oxygen, their pulse rate is not under control, their mind is not under control. What they have to do? So we have to place them before these facts, because today a youth wants, okay, मैं इसमें time इतना लगा दूं, I want to, and they look every time is in a wasted time if it is not giving, aligning it to the money, is not aligning to, and to bring them onto the social, to the green revolution. You people, the people into the academia, really have to sensitize them, to trigger that pulse in them, and there is to give them the proof that there is a people who are investing into them. So a systematic approach towards the green entrepreneurship, nurturing a green business culture and raising awareness among the entrepreneurs about opportunities arising from the environment-friendly business model, which I have discussed, creating an enabling environment which promotes and encourages green investment and entrepreneurship, supporting new and emerging entrepreneurs through the provision of business deployment services and other financial technical schemes. And thought at the end, which I always say, do we have to assume that green entrepreneurs and the green innovations are mainly about the production and trade of environmentally friendly but expensive products aimed at affluent consumers in developed countries? This is a question I am putting before you, but there are answer into that which you can very easily sit together and can answer. Will the large number of green projects currently implemented in developing countries continue once the funding from the international donors is withdrawn? Because we have seen that there's a lot of investment from the big donors who are pushing these developing countries through the donations around these facts. And what happens when these donors? So only the local solutions, the local ecosystems which are pushing it, the government systems, and only then they can get accelerated. Even through niche market for green products contribute to more sustainable consumptions and production patterns, they will not lead to a global transformation towards a green economy until they reach the masses. Now, to reach the masses, every drop counts, and that drop is from the academia, that drop is from the students, that drop is from the what you call the masses, from the youth only. So how can we make sure that the models used in welfare economics take into account the positive externalities generated by the social and green entrepreneurship through private sector activities and acknowledge such welfare gains? These are some of the questions which keep hanging around on my mind and keep asking when I mentor the people around this, or try to align their innovations in that. So green economy cannot be mandated from above, but needs to be driven by entrepreneurs who respond to policy incentives through innovation in management and technology. Now these policies, government started looking at seriously. The UN is supporting it through Niti Aayog. Many activities are coming forward. These private sector investments in green innovation not only generate private profits but also create large positive externalities for society and the environment as a whole, especially when not only contribute to the creation of a small niche market but have a potential to be scaled up and reach sustainable transformation of the entire industry. So this is a factor, and this is something which I wanted to show, that keep looking into this. And if anybody from you are interested, there is something on the international conference on the green entrepreneurship and sustainable growth, which is happening a year down to this time. That's in Copenhagen, Denmark. You can note down it. If you want to publish your papers, you want to show something as an academia, and whatever you've done from the last 1 year while looking into the total FTP of this 4 to 5 days which is happening over there, you can very easily can participate into that. And yes, I am reachable on LinkedIn, also on Twitter as an I2Safe. Why I say the I2Safe in this moment? It is I2 skill all for entrepreneurship. It is it is mandatory when everybody spells is I2 skill all for entrepreneurship. So this is the motive of my thing to align you all into this workshop, and hope you enjoyed the way I enjoyed interacting with you. Now the house is open for the questions and open interaction. I am there to address anything which you feel like, the topic we had discussed into this, to address your thoughts which are coming, your thoughts where I can help you, where the Nitra Bhopal can help you in building your ecosystems over there. Yes, please. The house is open.
Sir, namaste.
Namaskar, sir.
Sir, are there any platforms or any portal where we can share our green innovation ideas? Means, are there anywhere our idea will be invested? Such kind of portals, if you
Uh,
know, please share.
yes. I will provide you, because UN is coming in a big way. They have already floated the RFP into this, where they are working along with the youth and the college students and the college mentors also. They require a lot of innovations, lot of data locally to align
Okay,
at
sir.
a level. So I will share that their link sites with Professor Mishra ji. he can share you along through the knitter route also, and
Definitely,
people
sir.
can look into. And there are what I do FLTCB. These people are always looking. They are open to you to push any ideas around them. So there's a competition going on. There's a time bound.